to say, you get a BMW and you get a BMW. Next best thing, though, that we're going to be going green right there. So in the lead up to this summit, we asked you all to join us to pump for the planet. Now, when we think of exercise, obviously, we think about building up our bodies and improving our wellness, but just as important is the wellness of our environment. And that's why we created at the Schwarzenegger Climate Institute a workout for the world. And we're so thrilled that so many of you joined us. Let's take a look.
I'm talking about pumping up the world. Ride your bike instead of using your car. This is the important thing, because we want to reduce pollution.
Wir alle sind irgendwann damit angefangen. Und ich möchte, dass ihr einmal die Woche mit veganer Ernährung anfangt. Damit helft ihr eurer Umwelt unheimlich.
So, liebe Leute, ich wollte mich...
Dear people, I would like to thank you for the following reason. Do not forget to bring a plastic bottle if you go biking or walking or hiking. Bring your own bottle. That's good for the environment, good for you, good for your children. Ask yourself the question, well, do you need this or not? Well, this helps reduce the strain on our resources.
American Ninja Warrior, we've greatly reduced the use of single-use plastic bottles. Instead, we all drink from a flask.
Wir haben uns entschieden für das Thema Energiesparen.
We decided to go for energy saving. It's about taking shorter showers, 1 minute less. So we do it a shower battle, so who can take showers faster. It's about cleaning our homes. Please participate in our Pump for the Planet challenge and see whether maybe there are some products that can be replaced with a sustainable one.
So, everybody, it's my great pleasure to host this next panel. I want to introduce briefly the panelists. I would like to start with the ladies. Xenia von Hohenlohe is the Chief Engagement and Strategy Officer at the Sustainable Markets Initiative, which was launched by King Charles III, back then Prince Charles, in 2020. And you guys help industries operate in a sustainable way and help them grow in a manner that respects the limited resources we have. Got that right. Nalek Forrest from Holcim. You are also responsible for the sustainable section. Holcim is one of the largest worldwide manufacturers of cement, but you guys managed to transform into a global leader when it comes to, yes, of course, I just got to, the boss told me to, that you guys obviously need to use your microphone when you then speak. So you guys managed to transform into a global leader when it comes to sustainable and innovative building solution. Jürgen Czernohorski is the city councilor for climate here in Vienna, a city that aims to become climate neutral by 2040. So a lot of measures have been taken, and we'll talk about that as well. And then Luis Saihoyos, a world-renowned National Geographic photographer and an Oscar-winning director. Most of you will know his movie, The Cove, which showed the brutal slaughter of dolphins and small whales, and you really had an impact with that movie, so we'll talk about that as well, what impact art can have for the climate debate. For the SCI, it's really, really important to reach out to as many people as possible and to motivate them to ensure that everybody lives a sustainable life. And this is what we're going to talk about, how to reach out to people and how to motivate them. So, Jürgen Czernohorski, I would like to start with you. You say that policymakers need to create a structure and a program in order to enable people to live a sustainable life. What do you mean by saying we need to create a structure and a program?
First of all, being the first representative of the city of Vienna, let me give you a warm welcome here. It makes us proud and honored to be the host city for the Austrian World Summit every year and having so many inspiring people here that make a difference. And that brings me to your question. I believe that each and every one of us, each and everyone in a state like Austria can make a difference by making the right choices, by living a sustainable lifestyle, by making a contribution to making the world a better place. But if you talk about tackling the climate crisis globally, and we have to do that, we need a full ecological and social transformation of our communities, of our societies. And in order to do so, it's not only about individual action, it's about politics and policymakers that set up frameworks, that set up laws, that set up goals and structures that give people the possibility to act in the right way, that enables this transformation, and to give every individual the possibility to make the right choices. 3 examples: mobility choices. If you live in a city with a densely built mobility public transport system, you can tackle your mobility needs. You can go from A to B without owning a car. Second example, if there is a law ensuring fair and just and eco-friendly production and supply chains, you can, as a consumer, go to the supermarket and make your decisions with a clean conscience. The third example is something a city like Vienna has to work on very, very hard. Our buildings. Everybody lives in a flat or in a house and knows it makes a big difference whether this house is thermally insulated in the right way, whether this house is supplied by green energy or not. And therefore, we set up the goal of climate neutrality by 2040 and made a plan. Like Arne said, you need a vision, which is climate neutrality. You need a plan. Our plan is phasing out gas to 2040 in every single building in Vienna. And right now we are in the action phase to come up with this comprehensive program for every building. There is a plan for every neighborhood in the city showing this is a densely built area. It's district heating that is going to be decarbonized and enlarged. This is an area for smaller heating networks. This is an area in the outskirts where you need solutions for every single house. And right now we are showcasing them. We're working on decarbonization of the district heating system, and we're working on funding schemes that makes it possible for each and every one to make a contribution. But it needs politics. So phasing out of gas is our kicking the ass thing in Vienna.
So is Vienna on path for that 2040 aim? Are you guys on path? Are you guys, is it working out?
Right now it's the starting thing where we use to show it's possible, and we do that right now by giving showcases that are scalable. So if you live in a 100 and 120-year-old building in Vienna, there is already a showcase you can rely on. There is already a solution, maybe based on a heat pump technology or on the district heating system that is enlarged right now. And with the funding schemes, we already show it's affordable. There is a business case behind that. We already tried to come up with solutions that tackle each and every tenant. So if you cut down your gas stove and replace it with an electrical one, you get 1,000 to 1,500 euro from the city. So there's a lot of things we're already working on.
Very cool. How can the private sector help cities become more sustainable and climate friendly?
So how we build and operate our cities really matters. Our world is building the equivalent of New York City every month at the moment to keep up with population growth. And so when you look at the backbone of urbanization, it's the built environment that's at stake. So what we're doing at Wholesome is we're really putting our innovation forward to try to decarbonize building across all of its different stages of life. So what does that mean? The built environment overall represents 37% of our world's greenhouse gas emissions. 1/4 happens at the construction phase, and that's all the materials that are needed to build, so concrete, cement in our case, but also steel and glass and others. But then the 3/4 of the energy, the emissions of buildings happen with buildings in use, so operating the building, so heating, cooling, and powering the building, which is why the energy transition is so critical. So what we're doing at Wholesome is we're decarbonizing our building materials, and we're very privileged, and we're benefiting, and we're partnering with the EU with some of the most advanced technologies right now to make net zero cement and concrete possible at scale. We have 6 projects right now in partnership with the EU, benefiting from EU innovation funds as well, across a number of our plants, and I know that our team here in Austria is in the front lines making it happen here too in Austria. So we are decarbonizing construction. That's going to be a reality at scale by 2030. But also we have advanced building, roofing and insulation systems that make buildings more energy efficient in use. And at the end of use, we want to make everything as circular as possible. So we're driving circular construction in every metropolitan city that we operate in. And all of these technologies are happening today. It's not blue sky thinking that's at far reach. It actually is happening. I was visiting with our team here in Austria a building yesterday that is carbon neutral. So it's built with our low carbon concrete, with recycled materials inside. It's got our insulation system and our green roof and our solar roof that's making the building empowered by solar panels. And so this building generates all its energy on site, and it actually stores the excess energy in a battery, and then it actually gives back its excess energy to its neighborhood. And that's happening right now here in Austria. And it's not just for high-end buildings. We're also working in schools here with the city of Vienna that are also designed to be self-sufficient, so they don't need any fossil fuel to be operated. They even give energy back to their community. And I think if we can build all of our next schools and homes like this, we don't need fossil fuel in our cities anymore. So it's quite, I'm quite optimistic about what's possible in building.
Thank you, Nolak. Sanya, so the king has asked you to work with him on his lifelong crusade for a better living. He's been committed to that for decades. You are the representative of the Sustainable Markets Initiative. Tell us more. What's your goal? Can you share more details?
Sure. So the king, as you say, then the Prince of Wales, set up in 2020 the Sustainable Markets Initiative with a view to bringing the private sector together, the biggest players in the private sector, together to work on solutions together. So it's about collaboration, and it's about being useful. The king has grown up. It's got this DNA of being useful, as you quite rightly pointed out. It's something that you're born with when you're born into that family. And so it's this sense of urgency, because he's worked in that field for so many years, and building on what was done before by the ISU, which Justin led, a lot of policy work, a lot of research work, and showing that the transition needs to be paid for by the private sector to a big, vast majority. So how can we accelerate things that are being done by some amazing examples and companies is bringing those CEOs together. If it is CEOs from fossil fuel companies that need to be brought together with CEOs from building companies, from the insurance sector, from the banking sector, from the shipping sector. So bringing all these CEOs together. He has given us a mandate, a very ambitious roadmap called the Terra Carta, which some of you might know what the Magna Carta is. It leans on that. It has 10 articles that rotate around making people, planet, and nature, with a capital N, the core of our businesses, and transiting towards that. So how does it work? If you think of it as an umbrella organization, and underneath the umbrella we have the different industry sectors, the hard-to-abate sectors, but as I said, also insurance, finance, asset management, health, fashion, Umayim is part of that, hospitality. They all have the CEO sitting in there saying, okay, what are the biggest challenges for our sectors to transit towards a sustainable business model, decarbonizing, putting nature at our core? How do we work on those solutions together within our sector? But as it turns out, no sector can transit without another sector being involved. So it's very good for the building sector to do what you're doing, but equally sometimes you might need people from the insurance to back you for a new project, or somebody to finance it. Or you might need a hotel that wants to come in to be built like that. So it's really finding those sweet spots now and actioning that. And again, this is why it's so great. How do we action this? We action this by collaboration and by being useful together. So that's really the mandate of the Sustainable Markets Initiative. And then on top of the industry sectors, we have country councils. Umayim just mentioned it. We have Africa, we have China, we have India. We're putting together North America. So for those country and regional councils, it's about finding private sector to work together with the governments to achieve their NDCs. And in those regions, we will always focus on 3 key areas. Africa is agriculture, health, energy. China, very much the same. India also. So it's really finding those really key challenges and how do we bring all of those important players at CEO level together and then make the team action on that.
Very interesting. Thanks, Kenya. Louis, I mentioned before you won an Oscar for The Cove, which had an incredible impact. I think you reduced the slaughter by more than 80% after...
Over 93%.
Oh my God, yeah, that's incredible. It's a huge impact. Lately, you've been focusing more on the way we eat or what we eat. Your movie or your documentary, The Game Changers, was a big success. Your latest work on Netflix is You Are What You Eat, the twin experiment, which has been seen by millions of people. So if you hear, make it easy, from your experience, how can you create change and impact on the way we eat?
Well, you know, films are the most powerful weapon for change that we have. You know, we can get more people to see a documentary in a day than an entire Taylor Swift tour. I think Netflix is pretty proprietary about the information, but they shared with us that 50 million people saw You Are What You Eat, a twin experiment. The first 30 days it was on, the first 28 days it was on Netflix. The film that Arnold Schwarzenegger was in, The Game Changers, that was the best-selling film on iTunes, documentary on iTunes in 9 days. Merrill Lynch did a study about 2.5 years ago. They said that over 75% of the world's shift to a plant-based diet is because of that film. And it was really a powerful experience to have, well, we were told before we got here, somebody said, oh, well, you're going to Austria, it's going to be really hard to have a vegan meal, because I'm vegan. And last night with Arnold and all the guests, everything was vegetarian or vegan. The shift is happening. It's the single most powerful thing a person can do to affect climate change, is to decide what you put in your mouth. A vegan will save 3.5 tons of carbon dioxide individually per person per year, save over 400,000 gallons of fresh water. The list goes on. I mean, the average person in America eats 10,000 animals in their lifetime. But we don't focus on it. In The Game Changers, we don't even mention the problems with animals. We just talk about human health. You can be just as strong, you can have virility, and you can have endurance. The 3 things that a guy most cares about. And I guess positioning the messaging as an upgrade, like you don't have to give up anything, it's actually better for you. And the twin experiment, if you haven't seen that film, what we did is we take 21 sets of identical twins, because people came up to me after The Game Changers and said, well, I was vegan for a while and I fell off the wagon. I said, why? I said, well, because I'm Italian, I need to have this kind of a diet, or I'm Asian, I have to be this kind of diet. And I want to know the science. What does science say about the truth of what's going on in your body? So we worked with Stanford Medical, and we took 21 sets of twins. We gave one of them a healthy omnivore diet for 8 weeks, and the other one a healthy vegan diet for 8 weeks. So then we measured everything we could from baseline, midpoint, and endpoint to see what was actually going on inside the body on a level that science has never explored before. And one of my friends at National Geographic, I used to be a still photographer there, one of my friends is Dan Buettner, who's the guy that popularized the blue zones, where people live the longest with chronic disease, over 100 years, old. It was an amazing story. And I wanted to know if in 8 weeks we could see if there's a change in telomeres. Telomeres are the end cap, is your DNA that dictate how long you live. Longer telomeres, longer life. And at Stanford Medical, they said, save your money on the research. You're not going to be able to see a difference in 8 weeks. I said, well, it's my money. Let's find out. And it was the most interesting part of the entire study, because the identical twins were no longer identical. The vegan twins, their telomeres were longer, all of them in just 8 weeks. So it shows that, as much as we all care about the environment, most of us care about animals to the point we'd rather not eat them if we don't have to. But if you can bring it back to the human level, like what's in it for me? A longer life without chronic disease. And by the way, you're helping the climate, you're helping, animals not lead a life of suffering. So it's a win-win-win all the way across the board.
Okay, so cool. Mr. Janowski, we know that the current food production is not sustainable at all, and animal welfare is often neglected as well. With regard to that, what does Vienna have or offer to people so that they're able to eat sustainably?
We really are enthusiastic about food in Vienna, and we also believe
on the Wiener Schnitzel.
Yeah, but also in healthy options. And I really believe it's a political thing, and it's a goal that we're working on to work on the prerequisites needed that each and every Viennese citizen has the access to healthy food, regional food. There are a lot of programs from the procurement in hospitals or kindergartens to free school meals, education programs. But I think the single most important thing when you talk about healthy and sustainable food is organic agriculture and organic farming. And that's why we do a lot in Vienna to cooperate with farmers, to support them, to support restaurants and so on. And I don't know whether you all know, Vienna also tries to lead by example. Vienna is a farmer itself. In fact, Vienna is the only capital city in the world that is a farmer. So we produce lentils, potatoes, wine, whatever. Dating back to 1978, we do it in an organic way. And that's why we came up with a new brand, our own Wiener Gusto brand, only 2 years ago, to access the citizens directly, to work on the possibility to give everyone the chance to eat good things that are produced in Vienna. And well, actually, we strive to be Europe's #1 organic city.
We are already the most livable city. So.
Yes, we already received an Oscar or a prize of the European Commission on that.
No, I want to come back to you. Because, in addition to being climate friendly, cities also need to be climate resilient. What are ways that you can help cities become more resilient?
First of all, I just want to extend a warm congratulations to the city of Vienna for being such a lighthouse. You know, us as a building solutions company, we operate locally in every market. So when we have best practices like what's happening here in Austria, we like to broadcast it around the world to inspire other markets to follow their lead. So congrats for leading the way and being a lighthouse for all of our markets. So when it comes to climate resilience, cities are in the front lines of flooding, of heat waves, of air pollution. And so again, what we're doing is trying to put our expertise to work to play our part, to be part of the solution. So if you look at bringing more greenscapes into cities, bringing more nature into cities, we have permeable concrete that enables that, but also green roof systems. So for instance, we're in the High Line in New York, and we're part of all sorts of urban resilient programs to bring microforests into cities so that it can not only reduce the urban temperature, it actually cleans the air, and it also improves the irrigation, the water flow, the rain management. So by basically reconciling the built environment with nature, we can build in a lot of resilience. We actually built the very first building in Milan, the Bosco Verticale, that's a vertical forest. So buildings can actually be designed as forests. So yeah, that's how we're trying to put our expertise to work to reduce urban temperature, bring more nature into cities, and improve water management.
Mm-hmm. We're running late, so I need to ask you, Xenia, for a short answer. The Sustainable Markets Initiative also brings together many stakeholders and projects. Can you give us some examples for sustainable living?
Yeah, I think I'll take one maybe from agriculture, as we were talking about it just now with Vienna. So there's a project in America where they identified they could transit or help transit about 1,000 smallholder farmers to regenerative farming. I think the importance of regenerative farming, we just need to go back to this point of climate adaptation and mitigation. It's about cooling our environment and making sure that our earth can absorb the CO2 emissions and make it resistant to floods and soil erosion. So that's why we need that as a tool as well as healthy eating and healthy living. So you try to transit these farmers to regenerative farming, obviously they're going to have issues around crop loss at the beginning. So it was like getting around the table, identifying what are the levers to make it happen, to put action into it. And it's very clear you need finance to step in and say, okay, we will finance, and it's a splendid finance solution, so various financial players to sort of initially finance some of the transition. You need the insurance sector to underwrite the loss of crops or yields for the first couple of seasons. And then you need the supermarkets to take the products off the farmers, right? So it's bringing those players together, and that's then makes the action possible. And if I may say one thing that is really important for all of us to be useful and for collaboration to happen, and this is a call to the young people out there that are about to embark on being useful, it's really important that we all learn more about mediating, right? If we're all talking about we need to change, we need to change, we need to be action, we need to learn also to mediate between parties to engage them. Because if we don't learn how to mediate and get people's emotions sort of heard and brought onto the board, then we can have all the policies and all the action plans of the world, and we can have all the ambitions of the world, but we need to make sure that people move together. And if we keep being hostile and we don't learn how to collaborate because there's mediation skills in the room, it's going to be really, really, really difficult. So I recommend everybody who wants to be a leader for the future and everybody who's a leader now and hasn't learned how to do those mediation skills, please do that.
Louis, I have to ask you for a short answer as well. What's your motivation for your movies, and what's your next project?
Ooh, we're doing one on, we have 5 films in the works, but the one that's going to be next out of the gate is on plastics and human health. I think we're always looking for a lever. What's the lever that's going to create the most change? I run a small organization called the Oceanic Preservation Society. We know that plastics is a huge problem in our, out there in the oceans, but it's really our internal sea. We now know that plastic is in male testicles, it's in placentas, it's in breast milk. It's affecting fertility, it's affecting human intelligence, it's affecting your hormone system. So I think that's the lever. That's what's going to be the fossil fuel companies. They see that EVs are changing our consumption of oil, so they're putting more money into plastics than ever. There's more. All the plastic that's been over half the plastic that's been made in the world has happened since like the last 15 years. They're set to double it in the next 15 years. And so what we're trying to do is prevent them, because that's what they're trying to do right now is to convert a lot of the natural gas into plastics. And by the way, we want to reduce plastics, but a lot of our clothes is plastics, and even if you're wearing cotton clothes or linen, it's probably doused in petrochemicals, and it gets absorbed by the skin. It affects our endocrine system. It's affecting fertility. Our fertility is dropping 1% a year for the last 50 years. It's accelerated to 2%. There's a population crisis right now, but we're going to be having a real fertility crisis right now. I mean, how many people do you know that had to have IVF? So we think that's going to be the change that we need.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I mean, I would have, yes, this is your applause. Great work, Louis. Everybody go watch The Game Changers, and you are what you eat. It's a really awesome work. I would have many more questions, but I have the director, who's my boss, in my ear, who keeps telling me to come to an end. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and ideas, and this is your applause. Thank you so much. Now we want to dig deeper. Thank you.